Yeah, well, hello everyone. Welcome to our third evening lecture in the Summer Academy for Pluralist Economics 2022. My name is Yara. Those of you who are part of the Summer Academy have already met me. Those who are external, welcome to the session 1 out of 6. Before we start, we just want to mention two things. First off, this evening lecture will be recorded, but participants will not be seen in the recording because we're using a webinar function. And the second thing is that if you want to ask questions to Amit, please use the Q&A tool. You find it at the bottom of the Zoom or the Zoom window. You can ask questions anonymously. So then I will read out your question to Amit, or you can also just use your name and then we will unmute you and you can pose your question yourself. Right. And then we will now start with a short video that we will be showing you. Here we go. All right. This is our official teaser for the Summer Academy, so we have to show it every time. Now I'll quickly introduce Amit and a little bit the Peace Foundation, but he will also introduce himself as well. That's why I'm just keeping it very short. Amit is the executive director of the Peace Foundation, which is based in Erfurt, Germany. And he has a Master's of Public Policy from the University of Erfurt and has worked in various capacities from corporate management to professional training and social work, amongst other things. And his organization, the Peace Foundation, is similar to Rethinking Economics or Pluralist Economics in that sense that it tries to build a social movement which aims to collectively transform the society and basically shape the making of the 21st century. And today we will be talking about different concepts of wages, which fits perfectly into our Summer Academy topic, Better Economics for a Better Future. And we will especially take a look at a specific project which the Peace Foundation is working on as kind of a hands-on example of what a good living wage could look like. And with that, I will hand over to Amit. I will stop sharing my screen and you can start sharing yours.
Can you see this time?
Perfect, yes.
Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Amit and I'm from an organization called Peace Foundation. And in today's context, we are working on a project that focuses on handling the puzzle, the economic puzzle of what kind of policies or ways we should have to organize our economic activities. There have been various ways and various experiments in the history of humankind, especially past 200 years. We have been doing different experiments on the name of different type of economic theories. So we are also trying to make an attempt to see or to address the issues that are actually challenging to us. For example, growing wealth inequality, or also now growing unemployment is another issue in the fourth industrial revolution. So that is the two main focus areas that we are trying to address. Before we go forward, I would like to show a short video so that we understand in which context we are speaking, because we are working on a certain issue in a certain geographical location to implement the concept that the economic concept that we have. So let's start with watching the short video. It's 18 minutes, and then we'll start our further presentation.
Okay, could you stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि खेती की लूट ये पूंजी संचय के लिए जब से औद्योगिकरण, यांत्रिक औद्योगिकरण शुरू हुआ तब से हो रही है। और उसको और स्पेसिफिक कहा जाए तो अंग्रेजों ने जब हमको गुलाम किया तब से खेती की लूट हो रही है। और उसमें कपास उत्पादक किसान की लूट तो अंग्रेजों ने योजनाबद्ध तरीके से की है कि उनको मैनचेस्टर और लैंकाशायर के कपड़ा मिलों के लिए कपास चाहिए था, और वो अमेरिका से नहीं मिल रहा था उस समय महायुद्ध के कारण, तो वो भारत के किसानों से पैदा करवा कर सस्ते दाम पर वो ले जाते थे। तो यहाँ से कपास सस्ता ले जाते थे, मैनचेस्टर में कपड़ा बनाते थे और वो यहाँ लाके फिर महंगे दाम से बेचते थे। पूरा मुनाफा वहाँ जाता था, कैपिटल एक्यूमुलेशन वहाँ, विकास वहाँ, यहाँ का किसान कर्जे में, यहाँ का बुनकर, रंगारी, ये सब उध्वस्त हो रहे थे। तो ये जो लूट का इतिहास है ये तो बहुत पुराना है, पर उस समय किसानों की आत्महत्याएं नहीं थी।
तर जास्त होते त्याच्यापेक्षा, पण शेती पिकवी आहे, पण कधी कधी नाही पीक झालं तर मग विहीर खोदाची बाई, विहीर खोदून तरी मग विहीरही खोदली, त्याला पाणीच लागलं नाही, 30 खोलही केली तरी पाणी नाही लागलं, मग त्याचं झालं कर्ज, मग बँकेवाले कर्ज मागे, मग कर्ज मागे वावरही विकलं, मग वावर विकूनही त्याचं कर्ज फेडलं, मग विकून टिकून त्यातले पैसे उरले होते, उरलेल्या पैशाची मग हे दुसरं शेत घेतलं 5-5.5 एकर, त्याची कर्ज गिर्ज फेडून. तर मग आता पुरी मोठ्या मोठ्या झाल्या, आता लग्न करायचे बात, मग आणखीनही शेतीचं तसंच झालं, पिकेच नाही. मग लग्न करावं लागतं बा पुरीचं, म्हणलं लग्न करावं लागतं तर सोयाबीन 3च पोते होती 5.5 एकरातली. मग आपण म्हणत नाही घरगुती कसं करायचं बा, तुम्हाला म्हणत तुम्ही आहे की नाही बा, पहिले पिकवे तर पिकलं नाही तर वावर विकून टाकलं, मग ते बँकवाले मागे मग कर्ज द्यावंच लागलं. मग त्याच्यामुळं मग लग्नाला पोर गेलं तर मग मी म्हणत मग हे अशी विचार करता करता झोपून राहायचा. 1-2 गावचे पाहुणे आले ते पाहायला, मग पैसेच नव्हते, मग विचार करता मग त्याला काय आलं असं म्हणा, त्याला नाहीतरी लग्नही करायला लागते, पिकलंही नाही, ते गेले आणि त्याने ऋतू टाकून दिले, घराजवळ मी वावरात गेली.
शेती पाहून उधारी होतेच ना त्याच्यावाली. आता आपल्याकडे, माझ्या इकडे 8 एकर शेती आहे. आता 8 एकराच्या हिशोबानं 1 लाख कमी जास्त 1.5 लाख तर मला पाहिजे ना समजायला त्या 8 एकरासाठी. 2-3 लाखाचं उत्पन्न होते. या काही मंदा अंदातही बी आपण ॲडजस्टमेंट करतो त्याच्यावाली. काही मायवर फायवर आहे ते आपल्याशी, वाल आहे, पालक आहे, अमुक आहे, ढमुक आहे, वांगे आहे, हे करतो आपण त्याच्यातून ॲडजस्टमेंट. पण आखरी तेवढं तर पाहिजे नसते, तेवढं पाहिजे न. आणि पुन्हा आता घर खर्चाले पोरं आहे, शिकणेवाले काही असं आहे, काही अन्य खर्च आहे ना, मग ते पुरतच नाही ना पैसा, तर पुरतच नाही पैसा. बँक बॅलन्स म्हणून ते आपलं लोन घेतो आपण, तेही भरा लागते त्याच्यातूनच. पीक कर्ज.
हमने जो नई आर्थिक नीति 1991 के बाद में स्वीकारी, जिसको लिबरलाइजेशन, ग्लोबलाइजेशन, प्राइवेटाइजेशन कहते हैं, और जिसको डंकेल ड्राफ्ट के माध्यम से गैट को डिसॉल्व करके WTO का फॉर्मेशन किया गया 1 जनवरी 1995 में, 1995 में, उसके बाद में जो स्थितियां बनी दुनिया में, उसका ये परिणाम है. जब ये ग्लोबलाइजेशन, लिबरलाइजेशन की इकोनॉमी आई, उसके बाद में किसानों को ये कहा गया कि अब दुनिया से आपको स्पर्धा करनी है तो आपको नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी का स्वीकार करना होगा. इस जंजाल में किसान फंस गया. संकरित कपास हर साल खरीदना पड़ता था बीज, उसको वो अपना बीज इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकता था. और ये नई नीतियों के बाद में बीटी कॉटन का इंट्रोडक्शन हुआ और ये कहा गया कि ये बैसिलियस थोरनजाइसिस इसमें डला हुआ है, जो बोर्ड में जो इल्ली लगती है, बॉल में जो इल्ली लगती है, हेलियोथीस वगैरह, ये इसको बिल्कुल ख़त्म कर देता है. और एक इस प्रकार से इसका प्रचार किया गया कि ये तो मिरेकल सीड है, ये तो जादू की छड़ी है. किसानों, आपको अब आपके पीठ पर स्प्रे पंप लेने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, कोई इंसेक्टिसाइड फवारने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ये तो बस ये लगा दिया तो आपका वारा नारा हो जाएगा.
मग हे काय म्हणतायत की बीटी आणलं, आम्ही खूप उत्पन्न वाढवलं. अरे उत्पन्न वाढवलं तर मला, आम्ही असं म्हणजे प्रॅक्टिकली जेव्हा पाहतोय शेतात, तेव्हा असं लक्षात आलं की त्या बीटीला जर तुम्ही रासायनिक खत दिलं नाही, त्याला जर फवारणी केली नाही, तर ते मग आपल्या देशी बियाण्याच्या तुलनेत उत्पादन देते का? हे जोपर्यंत शेतकरी पाहणार नाही, आणि हे पाहण्याची आता काळाची गरज आली. मला एक सांगा, तुम्ही बीटी लावता, बीटीला रासायनिक देऊ नका, बीटीला फवारणी करू नका, मला फक्त एकरी 5 क्विंटल घेऊन दाखवा, कोणत्याही जमिनीत घेऊन दाखवा. नाही होत. मग मला एक सांगा, हे शेती जे करून राहिलो आपण, हे कोणासाठी करून राहिलो? आपल्यासाठी करून राहिलो का इतरांसाठी? इतरांसाठी. आता सगळ्यात महत्वाचा एक प्रश्न निर्माण होतोय की आपण सगळं पूर्णपणे आपण डिपेंड झालो दुसऱ्यावर. का डिपेंड झालो? कारण की आपल्या जवळचं जे मूळ बीज होतं, जे ताकदवर होतं, जे आपल्या जमिनीत उत्पन्न देणारं होतं, ते बीज आपण विसरून गेलो. कारण की पहिले आपली आजी, आई, दादी कोणी ना कोणीतरी घरात बीज संपादित करून ठेवत होती, काही ना काही राहत होती. आजची परिस्थिती अशी आहे, पूर्ण तळेगाव फिरा, कुठलंही गाव फिरा, मला गावरानी टमाट्याचं 2 बी आणून द्या, नाही आणू शकत.
जे सिस्टीम बिघडली आहे त्याच्यामुळे कसं आहे, तो मोठा संभ्रम आता करावं तर काय करावं. गव्हर्नमेंटची जोपर्यंत पॉलिसी बदलत नाही, जोपर्यंत वरून जर बंद केलं तर कोण वापरते? मला सांगा ना.
मग तुम्ही बाजारभावाप्रमाणे काय किंमत देता? तुम्ही जो प्रोडक्शन किंमत आहे त्याच्यानुसार किंमत द्या ना. याची वाली किंमत कशी? एका ट्यूबची किंमत प्रिस्क्राइब किंमत देते, एवढी किंमत, तशी किंमत तुम्ही देऊन राहिले का?
आंध्रात किती बीटी पेरे विमानाने फवारा मारे, बरोबर टाकून दिली, लोन आपल्याकडे आणलं.
ते लोन आता आपल्या
पंजाब मध्ये गव्हाचं प्रमाण येऊन गेलं, तेव्हा भयानक प्रमाण होतं.
नोकरीचं प्रॉमिस दाखवलं, प्रॉमिसही नाही, नोकरी गेली, पुन्हा पैसा द्यायचं कबूल केलं, पैसाही नाही, लाखानं
म्हणायचा विकास का?
आणि शेवटी कोर्टात गेलो, कोर्टात गेल्यावर आम्हाला हालअपेष्टा सहन करावा लागला पैसा करता.
आणि आत्महत्या होण्याचं कारणच ते आहे.
आत्महत्या होण्याचं कारण काय? तेच आहे ना.
यवतमाळ जिल्ह्यात सगळ्यात जास्त आत्महत्या होतात.
ये जो क्लेम करते हैं कि बीटी कॉटन से भारत में कपास का उत्पादन बढ़ा, मैं मानता हूँ कि उत्पादन बढ़ा, पर किसान का उत्पन्न नहीं बढ़ा, किसान का मुनाफा नहीं बढ़ा है. अगर एग्रीकल्चर की ग्रोथ आपको गिननी है तो एग्रीकल्चर की ग्रोथ, ये कितना प्रोडक्शन बढ़ रहा है, इससे मत गिनिए, तो किसानों की इनकम, आमदनी कितनी बढ़ रही है, इससे गिनिए. आज देखिए ड्रिप इरिगेशन को सब्सिडी है, आज केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर को सब्सिडी है, आज प्लास्टिक पाइप को सब्सिडी है, आज इरिगेशन को सब्सिडी है, कैनल इरिगेशन को सब्सिडी है। निकाल दो बड़ी ये सब सब्सिडी, तो क्या बीटी कॉटन वाले स्पर्धा कर सकेंगे? अमेरिका में तो सब टेक्नोलॉजी है, अमेरिका में बीटी कॉटन भी है, अमेरिका में मार्केट एफिशिएंसी भी है, अमेरिका के किसानों को क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस से प्रोटेक्शन भी है, और फिर भी अमेरिका के किसानों को $4.6 बिलियन की सिर्फ कॉटन ग्रोवर्स को सब्सिडी क्यों? 1994 में अगर $1.10 ये कपास का दाम अमेरिका के बाजार में था, और आज 2014 में आज का अगर न्यूयॉर्क कॉटन का दाम 92 सेंट है, इतने दाम कम हो गए। अमेरिका में क्या 1%, 1.5%, 2% का तो इन्फ्लेशन होगा ना? फिर इतने कम दाम होने के बाद भी अमेरिका का किसान आत्महत्या क्यों नहीं कर रहा है? सीधी बात है कि उसको सरकार के तिजोरी में से इकोनॉमिक कुशन है, और हमारे देश के किसान को आप कोई सपोर्ट भी नहीं दोगे और दुनिया से स्पर्धा करने की बात करेंगे और कॉस्टली टेक्नोलॉजी लाकर रखोगे, तो ये किसान इस कॉस्टली टेक्नोलॉजी में और इस नेचर के अनिश्चितता में पिस रहा है। ये ट्रेड मिल में आज पिस रहा है।
एक बीटी बियाणं सोडण्यामागचं एक कारण, मी मागच्या वर्षी छोटासा प्रयोग केला एक एकरामध्ये, म्हणजे खत औषधी तर फवारणी करत नाही, पण 1 एकरात प्रयोग करून बघितला. म्हणजे लागवड केल्यानंतर घरीही विरोध होता या म्हणजे पारंपरिक वाणाला, कारण जरी कर्जबाजारी होत होतो पण लोक चालतात त्या दिशेने चालायचं, सरळ सरळ, रिक्स कुठलीच घ्यायची नाही, एक असं गणित. आणि शेतकरी म्हटल्यावर घाबरूनच असतो, कारण निसर्ग साथ देत नाही, आणखी कोणीच साथ देत नाही. मग जे काही होईल लोक चालते त्या पद्धतीने, लोक डुबले तर आपण डुबायचं. नवीन प्रयोग करायची काही हिंमत होत नाही. आपण जे पारंपरिक पद्धतीत म्हणजे कुटुंबात राहतो, तर ते नवीन करायची काही तयारी होत नाही. मग मी मागच्या वर्षी 1 एकर म्हणून जबरदस्तीने घरच्यांना कसं तरी पटवून 1 एकरात प्रयोग केला. पण ते लागवड केल्यानंतर 20 दिवसांनी मला परवानगी मिळाली. तर मी 20 दिवसानंतर 1 एकर शेतामध्ये प्रयोग केला. गावाजवळ शेती आहे माझी, तर त्या शेतात. तर 20 दिवसानंतरही जरी केला ना, तर बीटीपेक्षा म्हणजे बीटीला पात्या येण्याचीच अवस्था होती. आणि हे जे पारंपरिक बियाणं जे वापरलं होतं, पारंपरिक बियाणाला 20 दिवस अगोदर 25 ते 30 बोंड तयार झाले होते. घरच्यांना पटलं, आता तुला काय करायचं ते कर, असं सरळ या मतावर आले घरचे. म्हणजे 12 एकर शेती मला दिली आणि पारंपरिक कर, आणखी काय करायचं ते कर, पण तुझ्या पद्धतीनं कर, हे असं.
किसान का बीज ये किसान के पास में ही होना चाहिए, वो अपने फसल में से ही अपना बीज रख सके, ऐसी व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए। ये पुराने ज़माने में था, इसलिए जब कभी भी रीसोइंग का संकट आता था तो गांव में किसान को परेशान नहीं होना पड़ता था। एक किसान दूसरे किसान की मदद कर देता था। वो बोलता था कि तेरा खेत नहीं सफल हुआ बुआई में, चिंता मत कर, मेरे पास से बीज ले जा, तेरी फसल आएगी उसमें से मेरे को बीज निकाल कर दे देना। आज क्या परिस्थिति है? फसल अगर बुआई सफल नहीं हुई तो किसान पहले वहीं आत्महत्या के लिए प्रवृत्त हो जाता है, जो अभी इस साल की स्थिति है।
हे आम्ही आजच निष्कर्ष काढून राहिलो त्याच्याला का हे पुढची पिढी चालन कशी बा,
शिक्षण
काय
देऊ शकत
होईल?
आपण, हे पैसा नसल्यामुळे मुलं शिक्षण देऊ शकत.
शिक्षण नाही, काही नाही, काय तर हे कसं चालन बा हे पुढच्या पिढीचं. आम्हाला नातू आहे, पोरं आहे, होणारे आता होऊनच राहिले आहे, त्याचं कसं होईन बा हे. आणि आम्हीच
जवान पिढी गाव सोडून शहरात चालले काय?
हो चालले
की नाही?
चालले. शेतीशिवाय मार्ग नाही खेडी बघा, काय करण.
माझा मुलगा आहे आता 19 वर्षाचा आहे, तर त्याला सगळा वडील मेले, बहीण लग्नाची आहे, बहिणीचं लग्न व्हायचं होतं, त्याला वाटलं आपणही काही करत नाही बा, शिकून आयट्याचाही नंबर लागून राहिला, शेती करू शकत नाही आपण, तर आता काय करावं बा. आणि मी गेली वावरात, ते गेली गावले, पोलीसचे याला जाऊन भरती द्यायले धावते, खूप धाऊ छाती जाऊन राहिली, पण तरी नंबर नाही लागून आला. मग त्याला राख त्यानं काय केलं, आम्ही घरी नसताना त्यानं काय केलं, बोंडणी असते ना हे पोऱ्याची, त्या बोंडीनं का त्याला फाशी घेऊन घेतली. तर ते त्याचे आणि ते बोंडीनं फाशी लागली गेले, पण त्याचे पाय टेकले जमिनीला टेकल्यामुळे त्याला काही फाशी लागली नाही. काऊन केलं बाबा म्हणे, काय करू म्हणे, शिक्षण शिकावं तर कुठं नंबर लागत नाही, पैसा नाही म्हणे, शेती करावं त्याला पण मग जगून काय फायदा आहे म्हणे, मरण्यात फायदा आहे म्हणे.
हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं? आज की नई पीढ़ी ये खेती छोड़ने को एक पैर पर तैयार है. जिस देश में 10-15 एकड़ जमीन के मालक की यह दशा बना दी है, उस देश में खेत मजदूर की व्यथा को शब्दों में कहने की जरूरत है क्या? जिस देश में उत्तम खेती, मध्यम व्यापार और कनिष्ठ नौकरी कहा जाता था, आज उस देश में उत्तम नौकरी, मध्यम व्यापार और कनिष्ठ खेती होते जा रही है. आत्महत्या किसानों की चर्चा हो रही है. इतनी आत्महत्या हो रही, उतनी आत्महत्या हो रही, यहाँ हो रही है, वहाँ हो रही है. मैंने प्रधानमंत्री जी को बड़ी विनम्रता से पूछा कि जो किसान आत्महत्या नहीं कर रहा है, क्या वो अच्छी जिंदगी जी रहा है? मैंने कहा प्लीज बेयर विथ मी, ही इज लिविंग जस्ट बिकॉज ही इज नॉट डाइंग. वो बाहर अच्छा कपड़ा पहन के निकलता होगा, पर उसके अंदर के बनियान को 100 छेद होंगे, ये हम नहीं देख पाते हैं.
प्रज्ञस्य कामाशा समाधिस्तस्य केशव
You can go ahead, Amit.
Okay. So, okay, before we move ahead, I'd like to show you a picture. It's not very unknown, but probably will help us set the tone for the next few minutes. Do we know it's a breakup of the cost of a t-shirt? It's very rough idea, there are different percentage, but more or less the picture remains quite same. Who gets how much? So let's take a minute to take a look at the picture to understand the system of wealth distribution. So we started working in 2017 and in this issue or in this region, and we work on two levels. So one level we work on organizational level, which is Peace Foundation, which focuses on doing some research and developing some further instruments that we will talk about And second level, we work on the ground. Like you saw this area, this region is in central India. It's called Vidarbha, and it's unfortunately known for highest farmer suicide rate in the whole world, I think. So that's where we work, but that's not in the capacity of Peace Foundation. I personally go there and live with farmers and with the local initiatives and farmers. We work and try to see the issues. So after doing a research for about 1 year or 1.5 years and staying in various villages with farmers, we did some research and we came up with this a bit pictorial or graphic presentation or analysis, you can say. It actually shows starting from the seed till the retail, wherever you see the problem, and we try to put it in two various areas that you can see the transparency and centralization. So for example, seed and fertilizers, if you start from seed, I mean, you can go one further step now, which is land. So it was 2017, and with every passing month or year now it's evolving, or we're probably understanding the situation better. We can go one step behind, and that would be land. Who owns the land? So land, again, there is I mean, in India, there is no monopoly of corporations, but you have landless farmers and land farmers. So about 56% of Indian agricultural labor is landless. So these people work on the land of other people. So, I mean, they are farmers, but they are landless farmers, which is a very troubleful situation. Imagine when somebody who has land is committing suicide, what is reaching to the person who doesn't even have land. And so I'll just take you through this little analysis fast. So seed and fertilizers, there is big monopoly of big corporations. Then you have cotton farming or cotton picking. So farming is like seeding and nurturing crop, and then comes a stage of cotton picking. That there you see local with land and landless farmers are involved, are the players. Then you see processing of cotton. So once cotton is picked, then it is processed to convert it into lint. So lint is that we see what can be used, which is around only 30% of the total cotton that you pick from a plant. And then after cotton processing, when it is converted into thread, then you have weaving. The next step is weaving, and then tailoring, and then marketing, and then retail sales. So these were the all steps that we saw. Okay, so we worked specifically for this particular crop because in this region mostly cotton farmers are most vulnerable. And then we saw, okay, let's evaluate all these steps on the scale of transparency and decentralization. So as you can see, seed, very poor transparency, very poor decentralization. Nobody actually knows what's happening. So somehow people have to buy this BT cotton because the traditional seeds are gone from the market, and everywhere there is monopoly of this big company. And same situation with fertilizers and pesticides. There are some local initiative that try to do some things with and older knowledges, but it's not something that is reachable to common farmers. Then for land holding, you see, like it's okay, transparency. For example, in a setup of village, you know who owns how much of land, so you can have this information, but it's again centralized. Cotton picking, you know who picks the cotton mostly, but it's different. Cotton processing, again, this is another big step where you have absolute monopoly, apart from some small initiatives, and there are big farms or factories, and you need very high technological expensive machines to process the cotton. So nobody knows, like general people don't know, okay, this goes to a farm and comes out as a thread. Then for weaving also, unfortunately, in this region, though India has been a house of many different weaving art, but there is very less weaving possibility we saw. And same situation will the tailoring now. Tailoring is going to either Bangladesh or some other parts of the world where you have a very exploitative environment for workers. They get almost nothing for tailoring. And then comes the part of marketing. Of course, those who produce, they don't even know in most cases that there is a concept called marketing. So this is just produce, and it's the monopoly. They get whatever they get. They have no choice. And then the same situation is with the retail sale. So we tried to see the situation, and we came up with an understanding that so the serious situation, the crisis is manifesting itself in three major areas. First, now it's leading to unemployment a lot, because there are big factories with very high technological machines, and they produce on massive mass scale. And yeah, it leads to, it's a difficult question to handle, because it's the question with automation and artificial intelligence now also. So what do you choose? Do you choose technology, or so that's one question. Another question is wealth inequality. Like I shared this one picture, how the cost for the t-shirt, or how much do we pay. So in growing wealth inequality is another problem. So more people on the bottom have less choice to decide, and then they just are depend on what they get as a possibility. Otherwise they can't make any intervention. And then it's further leading to extreme poverty. For example, in the video, they explain that it also depends on ecology. For example, in this region, in most places, people don't have groundwater, so the agriculture depends on rain. And because of the climate change, the monsoon, the season for the rain in India, it's seriously disturbed. So it doesn't rain either, or it rains so much so in some hours that everything floods. And I'm telling you now something that just happened last week. I live in a village which is surrounded by a river from three sides, and there is no way to go when I work in the region. And in 10 hours, it so much rained that in one of the district, 42 villages went underwater almost. So human casualty was less, but everything washed away. So imagine a vicious circle where you borrow money, take credit to buy seeds and fertilizers, and in the month of end of June or beginning of July, you do seeding, sowing, and then fertilizers. And the last week of July comes so much of rain that everything is flooded. So it's just 1 week before this happened. So it's very serious situation. So we thought, okay, what can we do? It's very difficult situation. You have a very complex situation which is on multi-level and multi-dimensional. There is no one way solution to this situation. So we thought, let's do one thing. First thing, we try to give them an economic breathing space, so that we can further try to see what we can do. And for that, we used a very conventional instrument, that is to improve the value chain of any crop at local level. The more we improve the value chain at local level, the higher the chances that the people involved in agriculture or production would get more money, or will get higher proportion of the cost. So we used this model. This is our theoretical framework for an inclusive growth or inclusive economy where the distribution is transparent. So two fundamental pillars for the intervention, that are decentralization and transparency. And we are doing this two intervention in 4 different areas: knowledge, finance, market, and production. So in relation to our project, what does it mean? This means that knowledge for processing cotton, or weaving, or tailoring is centralized. If we decentralize this, we will be able to improve the value chain at local level. So we are using different instruments and working on a platform also, where we'll put all the information, where farmers can access different types of information. For example, knowledge about how to make a handloom on very less money, So we've also ourselves developed a prototype for a handloom, and tailoring or different design or what's happening in different market, what kind of market they can address by provide. So all this knowledge can be decentralized and made available to people. Then comes a very difficult question of finance. So even if somebody likes to start a small business with their own crop, they don't even have that much of economic space, breathing space, that they can start their own business, because handloom cost about in euro it would cost about 500-600 euros in open market. And as you must have seen in the documentary, uh, most people do not have that kind of fortune. It is a fortune for them. So what we've done is that we've developed our own prototype in Germany, and this prototype can be made by women or farmer at village level, with most things available at village or in nearby area within 50 euros. So from 500 to 50 euros. And then for this, we again use the same principles, decentralization and transparency. So we are developing our own small vendors who would make the handloom and provide them to people. And for those who cannot even afford, so there is a process of decentralization. It's common concept in Germany. You say Zolavi, like solidarity agriculture. So what we are doing is that when you go to our platform, you can buy in advance. So it's not a donation or a charity. It's just supporting a different kind of economy. Somebody who would prepare fabric for us, we just buy in advance. So we invest, and this person can start the business, and that's how we try to decentralize the process of initial seed money or initial capital. Then comes another question of market. As you saw in this one analysis, the market is highly dominated. There are two different segments. Either it is the big corporations, which we know like big brands, or there are local stores. Especially before the digital market came, there were physical markets, and to have some possibility in physical market, you need to have a big shop and a lot of influence and a lot of money to have things fill in your shop. Then only you run, and these people don't have that kind of amount. So what we are doing is that we are trying to develop it on both level. We are working on developing an online platform where our target group will be able to sell everything without paying any commission to anyone. So that is a complete decentralization of the market as an institution. So now they don't have to depend upon a local store also, because we are also doing like a campaign, and then those who are interested in supporting this kind of idea or buying from directly from the producer, they can go and buy. In Germany, it might be very common thing, because Germany is a different society where access of internet and access of technology is has reached to a lot of people. But I'm talking about a society where internet penetration is hardly 30%. So you understand, like there are big, maybe 2-3 big corporations that maybe everybody would know, but otherwise it's not something very common today. It is the future. I think it will evolve, but it's still only 30% of people have access to internet. So we are trying to develop this whole market institutional structure. At the same time, on local level also, we are developing some store where people can, or working on developing some store where people can go and buy with the different values. One of the main thing that we introduce here, so when providing them a platform or a market space, a physical market space, that is the decentralization. But then another trouble is with the transparency. So I throw a thought to all of you, or ask a question we can later discuss. How many of you know whatever you buy, how much money goes to whom, or why something costs X or not Y? Or let me make it more personal. All those who of you work why do you get, how much do you get? So we can think about it later, we will discuss in the discussion. So that is the question, also part of the market transparency. And then comes the production and means of production, quite traditional question in economics, in the history of economics, who will own the means of production. And now also we are debating, okay, if there is artificial intelligence and there's so many robots, who will be taxed, whether robots will be taxed or not taxed, or what to do with that, whether if there is a car which is driven without a driver, who's responsible if accident happens. So these kind of questions are emerging in economics and policies. So the question here with us in our small scope for the project contest is that sorry, is that who will own the handloom? Because it appears that, okay, handloom, a lot of people can use handloom or doing weaving, why it is so much of big trouble? But that's actually not true. So as per some surveys in India, average income of a farmer family of 5 is about 6,000 rupees, which is 70 euros or so. So imagine somebody with a family of 5 having 70 euros per month cannot afford 400 euros loan, and that is with so much of fragile market. There is so much of in different ways monopolies of different actors, big corporation, then small actors. So this our prototype actually tries to address the issue of owning the means of production. So we give the prototype design to individuals. So it is individual or the family that owns the means of production. And yeah, so these are two major interventions, decentralization and transparency into 4 areas: knowledge, finance, market, and production. And to implement any concept, we need a geographical location or a particular issue or crop. So in this case, the concept that we are trying to implement is in Vidarbha, the place that you've seen in the movie. So we we are doing our implementation in Vidarbha, and then we try to scale it to other parts of India, but within the cotton, or let's say textile sector, because our study is specific to one sector. We can switch it. That is our aim, that going forward, once the successful implementation is done in this particular sector, then we will implement this in other sector, which on philosophical level is applicable to everything that we do in economics. Decentralization and transparency is essential to any form of activity that we perform in economics. But since our research is based on a certain sector, and we would need another research to do to understand different crop and different sectors, so we focus on this now. So we do it in Vidarbha, then different part of India, and probably after that different part of the world we will scale this. And what we are trying to do once the pilot is finished, which we are very close to, so now then we have the theoretical framework or concept, and we have certain solutions to at least provide an economic breathing space, which can enable farmer to probably switch a crop or switch to organic farming or try to do another alternate activity. So we'll collaborate with like-minded similar local cooperation partner who are working on the issues of livelihood or wealth inequality or extreme poverty. And then the campaign is about not just about particular sector, but in general campaign about alternative or a more transparent economic activity. So that is where also we see a lot of similarity in our work with the initiative. Then creating and connective capabilities. Another problem that we saw in the region is that the different kind of knowledge available within the certain area, but the connectivity is not there. People don't even know that maybe 10 kilometers far there is another person who's doing similar work, and we can benefit from this. So we also try to connect them at local level. That's what we are doing. So we've notified around 27 types of activities that you need and need collaboration among, so that we can run this the textile thing successfully. only merely weaving doesn't help. You need different types of activities that, for example, maybe making some instrument for the loom, or so they're different. So creating, if they are not there in the region, create them, and if they are in the region, connect them through the platform. So we are working on two platforms. You might be a little bit wondering, it says Asarkari online platform. This is a word of Hindi language, and it can be said in two different ways. So first you say Asarkari. If you say like without a pause, without a break, which means effective. And if you say a sarkari, so little break after a, which says non-government, which means community driven. So anything which is community driven, use, or like in general we use the expression NGOs, non-government organization. So community based work. So Asarkari, we have given this name because it's not too much intervention from the state. It's rather creating solutions with the knowledge available within the society, and trying to promote an idea within the society, the idea of a transparent economy and decentralized economy. So on this social platform, we say Asarkari ecosystem. Like I mentioned, there are 26, 27 types of activities. So a local weaver or local farmer would be able to find all the similar activities, or the work or support they need within the local community in a farmer. For example, you can have some search engine where you can pull up, you want to find some lawyer in effort, then you can find that. So you can also find somebody like a weaving trainer in local area, so you can find this person, then you can connect with this person. So similarly, all these different types of services would be available. That then there will be an academy that I mentioned as part of knowledge decentralization and transparency. So there's the video courses and other online courses would be available, or other literature would be available for different type of tasks. And crowd investment I shared with you. So and knowledge cooperation also, the different in different parts of the world, people are working on similar situation. So why to reinvent the wheel over and over again? So what we are doing, probably somebody else has already done it in some other part of the world. So try to make it accessible and be available to other initiatives, so we can share knowledge, make it also a place to share knowledge with each other. And also the outreach program, if there are initiatives or groups that are trying to or thinking to start similar project in their locality, to provide them a helping hand and share all the work that we have done so far with them, and instrument that we've created, benefit share with them so that they can work with them. So that is on social level. It would be a more like a social network platform. Then another is this online market space. We call it v-commerce, not e-commerce. So there are certain functionality in this. One of the most important thing is okay, when you go to any marketplace and you want to buy a product, you only see a product detail or product description. But in this platform, for example, you say the first tab is for a price calculation. So and then here you see the formula for price calculation. This is just demo data because it's not up. I just pulled it up to show you the concept. And this is about transparency in the market space. So you can see, for example, current price 2.70 euro, hour 1, material cost 1. So making more information available to the customer, so that we can see what kind of why price is calculated, and what are the total inputs and the cost and formula to calculate price.
So Amit, you're still showing us the same slide.
No, I'm showing. Ah, okay, sorry. Okay. 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 Do you see now something different, Mr. Dog? Okay. So it's just a demo data. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize. So this is one of the main questions that we have these days. When you go to a marketplace, be it physical or online, but what we mostly know is information about product. But the information about the price calculation and wealth distribution is completely missing. Most of the time, we get maybe some information that okay, it's some kind of fair trade or some different economy, but the story behind the label is not accessible to customer, and that is our best bet. We think okay, this is not fair trade and this is fair trade, so let's support the fair trade. But what is fair? Nobody knows. There are different type of fair trades. What is fair? Like we don't know what is fair, and the question is debated in economics, just like the labor theory of value. What is fair? So we try to make it transparent and let society decide what is fair, but at least let them know first. Unless I don't even have information, how do I decide what is good, what is bad? So see, on this slide you see not only just the information for the product, you will see price calculation, and here you see formula for price calculation. So for it's just a demo data. So work cost, product cost, working hours, the material cost. So the customer would have, or we don't want to use this expression like customer, but somebody who wants to be part of this kind of economic policy or economic system, this person would have more information about okay, what is happening here, why something cost X and not Y. That doesn't mean that this is the rightest way to calculate, but at least our attempt is that it should be available, it should be transparent. I mean, there could still be debate, okay, this is not the right way, there could be wrong way, but at least we should know. At this point of time, we don't know. Maybe people in academics or in scientific area, they might have some idea why something is calculated reaching to a certain cost, but a normal person doesn't know anything. The same thing here you see, like a wealth distribution, income distribution. So who has worked how much, or for what part cost what. So you can see actually there the distribution thing. So there is more information available about distribution. Then we have also put little bit it's not a restriction, but it is some way restriction or a status for a seller, because our idea is also to address the issue of growing unemployment, and the not just the limitation of technology, but imagine if I want to buy something and I'll go maybe I will select by best rating. So somebody maybe who's the best producer will always reflect the first, and the chances of this person getting the work, it's nice that if somebody is doing a better work should get more work, but how much? So if somebody is doing little less work, would not be. So we have put a cap for a monthly maximum sale through the platform. I mean, outside they can do whatever they like, there is no restriction. We are only a supporting hand. We don't control their business, we don't do anything, we only support by sharing knowledge and sharing. They can do whatever they want in the local market, but because we also want to create a market space which is decentralized and transparent, so if they want to sell through here, then we put a little restriction, and that is calculated on the basis of our research on the ground, how much a family needs to survive in a certain district of India, like in a rural or a urban background. So according to that is whole area, one of our team members has done or is doing research on that particular area. Unfortunately, she had COVID last week, and she was supposed to be part of our meeting, but she wasn't feeling well, so we had to make these changes. Yeah, so she has done a lot of work on different types of wages. For example, the different concepts on wages like minimum wage or living wage. Her research rotates around the idea of a living wage or a dignified wage. And how do you see what should be included in income for somebody? So how do we decide this question, like what should be our capping for our project? So to understand how much should be okay or reasonable, so we have done a lot of work for that. So I would like to mention name of Yulia who's done a lot of work for this, so thanks Yulia. And yeah, so this is the transparency of the markets. I go back to this slide. Yeah, and this is just the photo for the prototype that we built when the COVID hit and we were not able to do anything. So we came in touch with one expert in Germany, and with his support and some influence from his work, we built this very simple and expandable hand loom. It has 4 designs. You can start with a very simple one with hand without a flying shuttle. Those people who have weaving knowledge, so you can do it with hand, but after a certain time you can like make it fast. It goes fast. It's called flying. So you can start with the basic, then you can, without investing more money, just buying a small parts or creating small parts that we also share in our prototype open source. You can expand this and make more, which allow one weaver to make more pattern and design. So that is how the quality of work and creativity of a weaver improvises. And then you can make with more speed like a flying shuttle, and then you can expand it for, so you can have 6 shaft, which means you can make thousands of patterns, so a lot of design. So that's what we had today to share, and then we can open for the question and answers.
Thank you so much, Amit, for sharing this with us. So if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your Zoom window and pose your question either anonymously, or you can also use your name and then we will unmute you to ask your question. I think my first question would be, maybe could you sum up in maybe 3 points, like what the main things are that you do in your project? Because it was a lot of information, and I think maybe it would be nice to just have this clearer. So you have a platform where you collect data, so you're doing field research and you're also presenting the data on your platform, but then you also have more hands-on practical support that you're giving in the areas that you're working in. I think if you could sum it up maybe in 3, like the 3 main points that you're doing, that would be really helpful. Maybe that as the first question from my side. Thank you.
Okay, so as I said,
sorry, Amit, could you also turn off the slides so that we can see you better? Perfect, thank you.
So as I mentioned, the first idea was to generate some kind of income way for cotton farmers, so that they can have some breathing space, and then further we can see. So we thought of providing handloom or teaching them weaving. The problem again was that the handloom was very expensive and people didn't know how to sew. So to solve that problem, we had to again create a prototype which is very less money. Another problem comes that they don't know where to sell. So to help them sell, we started working on this, creating platform where they can sell. Another problem then again came is that if something is broken with the loom, or where to get a thread from, or different design, or how to register a small business, or how to do with the tax situation, how to deal with the technological, like using app, or so there are like 28 types of things. So we are trying to work on end to end, starting from the design of the handloom, or also providing possibility to buy in case they don't want to make themselves, with a very small input plus the material cost. And then we conduct training so that they learn weaving, and then they can further sell through the platform, and they can connect with the people who are involved in similar kind of work, so sharing best practice and benefiting from one another's works. And sometimes there are other initiatives or volunteers who would like to help them, for example starting a small business, registering a small business legally, So that is the idea, to support this cotton farmer, not commit suicide at first stage.
Great, thank you. I think Leusa has a question. You can just unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. Thank you a lot. I think the program you talked about is very important, and I appreciate your work. And I have a lot of questions, to be honest. I try to make it very short because it's very interesting what you talked about. I just was wondering how your organization is involved in this. So do you make, as you said, you sell the machine for making the cotton, or making, so just working on them and make the raw material maybe to sell it, and you sell this machine, and then this is the profit for the organization, or how are you as the organization involved in this? So this is one question. And then how do you handle the quantity and maybe the quality of what the farmers are going to sell? Because I think about you have to have big quantities, and maybe just one farmer can just have small quantities, and maybe someone in Germany would not be interested in buying from this small farmer. And if you think about that, or is it just a local project, you think about just selling a little bit to help them, make a little profit and can be stable to live? So this is, I hope you understand it. And okay, thank you.
So maybe first question, or in general, we don't produce anything. We as an organization don't produce anything. Our aim is to create capabilities for creating instrument. For example, this platform that we create, and this we provide free. So we another thing is that all of us, none of us work for money. We are not paid volunteers. I technically get some small salary because to be able to stay in Germany, I must have a job, which is also a technical thing. But most of the money in my life is spent on the work. So we all are volunteers who contribute from our side. And organization is run by volunteers. It's 100% volunteer work. In Erfurt, we have our office that is also run by volunteers. Everything is run by volunteers. So there is no material motivation for any individual involved to carry forward the work. So, and we don't produce machines. We actually have created a prototype that we share with local people, and we train local people so that they can produce at local level. So that's how the machine will reach to a local farmer. And now we are developing a program to organize a district level 3 big. So in this region, there are 3 districts. So we are developing a program. So for example, we'll identify different, per se, carpenters who these days very serious unemployment problem. So, and then we will share all the design, create one week of workshop, and we'll share the whole knowledge with them. They will be able to produce. Then they will go down and penetrate. This is one thing. Second, about the scale of production and quality of production. We make it very clear on the platform that we don't produce. It is a direct relationship between a producer and a consumer. So these two parties contact. Our work is to create an instrument where they can coordinate. It's up to the producer what kind of quality they produce. It's up to the buyer what they want to buy. So we are not in favor of controlled economy in general, in principle, but we do want to have a fair ground, apple to apple comparison. The trouble is that I mean, Bill Gates had access to one of the best computers when he was like 15. In India, 70% of population doesn't even know what is internet. And then we say that we are living in a free economic world. So that is a little trouble. So we are trying to address, so create a fair field. Our platform is in local language. Even if you provide them a platform free, it is in English. They don't know anything about it, don't understand anything, it doesn't work. It has to be converted into a way people understand, language that they understand. And yeah, so it's like this. And also, like, for example, you say somebody is interested in Germany. I think that's a little part of the problem. Sorry, but our idea is to develop local economy. It could be different in different economies or different countries, but India is a very big society. If, considering the economic view, India is not looked at as a society. People say the largest or growing economy or the biggest emerging economy. So in India, the problem of local consumption is not that serious. The trouble is that the centralization of production is causing a lot of unemployment. So sometimes there is a question with price and quality. So we often face this question. Somebody would say that, okay, this mass production is so cheap from Bangladesh. Why should somebody buy a locally produced product? So the simple answer we try to give is that, yeah, it's up to you to decide where you want to have job. It's okay, don't buy. So you're not buying for me. Nobody's buying for me. You should not buy for me. So that is part of the campaign. We say that our idea is just not to start another production house. Then I will do something else. So we want to create an understanding in society where people understand what does it mean to have a local economy. It is just I can't buy something that looks shining and there is so much of blood involved in that. So this is also like a little bit conscious or spiritual work, you can say, in that sense. So these few things we try to do. In Germany, we try to, for example, create the platform resources that we use here, which can be used by anybody on this planet. But in India, we use in a different model. So I go to India not in organizational capacity, but in individual capacity, work with farmer local initiative. So I'm playing a role of a local expert now. So in future, if we want to implement this, then this will be replaced by some local initiatives there. So what Peace Foundation is doing, creating, maintaining the platform, doing research, understanding, making different concepts, that is one work at one level. But then for implementation at local level, we need local cooperation partner in this, because it was a pilot and things are emerging. There is no structure. Everything is coming from here, there. So we did this journey of 5 years and that's how it has all evolved. But next level, when we will scale it up, then there will be a local cooperation partner who will be doing all this work.
Thank you. There are several questions in the Q&A, and some of them you have already answered by answering the first question. But you touched upon the education and the level of education in this area that you're working in. And one participant is asking, how is the platform practical with the situation of inadequate education in the villages? And you already mentioned that it's in the local language, the platform is in the local language, but are there any other things that make your platform very practical for that area, except the language?
Yeah, they get the maximum benefit. Anybody who sells gets entire wealth. We don't take any commission. There's nothing. The money directly goes to this person. And somebody who buys at the local level, the simple motivation is to generate job. Otherwise, go hungry, die, like whatever. See, there is no fancy discussion. In different parts of the world, we are at different stages where we don't need that convincing argument, because the situation is so ugly in front of people. It could be maybe different to talk about these things in Germany because people are not directly affected. But we are talking about a situation where you go to every fourth house, you might meet somebody like, okay, in this house, society, in this house. So it's different there. You know? The discussions are different, questions are different. Their question mostly are, is it sure? Will I get some money? I will invest my 6 months. But do you think it will work? After 1 year, if I invest in this, whatever I have, will I be able to gain some return? So this kind of question people ask.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I think the idea of education is not done in schools, or not only in schools or educational institutions. The different ways of education. You can see different part of the world. Somebody has never gone to school but still using Facebook. We are living in a very different age where people have all kind of different agility via different means and different mediums. So digital is the reality. It doesn't matter. I know people, or for example women. My mother doesn't know anything about digital thing, but she still knows how to use Telegram to make call, or so it's easy to train for certain thing. Not necessarily somebody has gone and scored very good grade in school or college will it's they're two different things, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Another question from a participant is that one of your pillars, main pillars, was decentralization, and the question is decentralization sometimes backfires during or after implementation, which is to mean it doesn't impact the intended destination. How do you ensure that it benefits the intended destination or the targeted individuals? Or how do you overcome the weakness of decentralization?
Oh, I think this is a very important question, but again, we would have to look at the specific case and situation. Then only I can say anything. So I mentioned that what we are trying to implement is very specific to a certain area and a certain sector. So far it is not backfiring. There could be a time, hypothetically, there could be situations we can create. But so far it has not come. If somebody can mention a scenario, then probably it could be more helpful to discuss further. I mean, how does it backfire in what context? Then we can maybe discuss further.
Yeah, I'm not so sure because the question was sent anonymously. But if that person wants to pose the question themselves, they can just phrase it again, maybe. We also have a question from Kaustav, who is part of the organizing team. He has raised his hand. Kaustav, if you want to, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Yara. Thanks for this talk. Actually, it is covering a lot of reality in India and then perhaps in the global south as well. And then thank you, Amitji, for this presentation. So my I don't have any query actually, but then one observation. For example, when in a country like India, which is, or maybe in the global south, which are usually vast in geographical area and then huge population pressure, the role of government is very important. Now, because it is important, because all these countries, most of the global south or those colonies, they're starting from a level which is pretty low in GDP or other indicators, and then so they need some support. People need some support to, and then that support can be provided by government because of this population pressure and then huge inequality. Perhaps countries also huge. You cannot reach all the nook and corners, like particularly some institutions and actors who are acting on their own. Now, having said that, what happens is then when there is an absence of government, then there's a need of people like you are doing. You are doing it voluntarily. It's a very good work, and then you guys are doing there, and then it has been found that there is a dangerous precedent that has been set where the government will say, okay, fine, the civil society, NGOs, they are doing much better work than what we are doing, because several reasons. You can cite many reasons: corruption, and then so many other willingness, and then the honesty and all, the willingness to do good work and all. So then it will remain. For example, you cited about the education thing, that okay, fine, some people can, without being educated, they can operate certain things. That's true. But then in a country where the literacy rate is so low, 80% or 85% maybe, and then that literacy means that one person who can read and write one language, that means that person, when he is going into the job market, he will be nobody will be able to hire him. So education means not only that I can do certain things. Education also, like as Amartya Sen has told, it increases your capabilities. It enhances your outlook towards the world. It enhances you to understand certain things. So in that way, I think we should little bit careful in saying that okay, fine, education, without education also people can go. So it's not so simple, because education means a lot. It means like a broad, like opening a broader like world in front of me. So in these two aspects, like like how to see things in a world which is actually deprived of so many basic elements like education, health, and other infrastructure, food, wages, as you have mentioned. And secondly, the dangerous precedent it might set, where
Sorry,
the
Kaustav.
government.
Sorry, I
Yes.
don't want to interrupt you. Could you please pose your question? Just because.
Yeah, no, I don't have any question, Yara. Just two observations that when like organization, non-government organization, they are doing work, such a good work, then there is a dangerous precedent that the government may, which is already
Yeah.
actually going back. It might happen more intensely. And secondly, certain elements which are very basic, I think we should talk about those things like education, health, and all a little bit more carefully. Those two
Yeah.
observations I wanted to make.
Okay.
Thank you.
So since it's not really fair because our participants can't give a statement. So we have two more questions that I think would be nice if we can still answer them. I mean, I don't know if you want to also give a short statement about what Kaustav just said. No, okay.
No,
All right.
I would just say that of course education is important, but I don't think education is only happening in four-wall called school. But yeah, we are not debating. It's another topic. Then what is education? Today we want to focus on a very certain issue. And I think secondly, we are only working on one area. Human life is surrounded by several areas. It is responsibility to preserve people's democratic right also of society. So that it's very different discussion going everywhere. So we try to focus on economic area for now.
Thank you. Another participant has posed a question in the Q&A. It says, hello, thank you very much for the interesting talk and showing a way to make people's lives better. My question is related to the video shot earlier and whether it was possible for the farmers to get back to sow their indigenous seeds. I think that seeds monopoly is a worldwide problem for farmers and more importantly for preserving the biodiversity in our world. So I think the main question is if the farmers from the video, if they were able to get back these indigenous seeds or not. Maybe you can give a short update on that.
Yeah, so it's a vicious circle of extreme poverty, and then people think that they need money to repay the debt, and one of the easiest way or apparent easiest way is cash crop. Cotton is a cash crop, so people can also grow different things, and for example perishable food products, etc. But coffee, flowers, or cotton, these are cash crops, and people think that they will get easy cash, but that doesn't happen. Also, market is completely dominated by the seeds. So you have some initiatives that are trying to preserve the indigenous seeds. I mean, theoretically you can find them, but to see them in mass scale, I haven't seen it yet. So I won't say that farmers could go back to the other seeds. They're stuck.
Okay, thank you. And then Nina has posed a question. We will unmute you and then you can ask your question to Amit.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. I was wondering if you were working with, like, in quotes, traditional actors of development cooperation, like on the ground, or to get funding or support. Is that a conscious choice, or are you still growing and that might happen in the future, or are you trying to stay clear of it?
Let's say all of the above. No, but one thing is that we are still designing our solution. Second thing is that as part of the solution, we don't want to rely upon a certain source of funding. Our fundamental idea is that the solution must also come from society. So whatever we need resources for, we try to generate it locally in a very small scale from many people, so it does not become dependency on a certain source of finance. So far we didn't have a situation where we would need so much of resource, but we don't know. In future we will see, but I think in principle we don't want to rely upon any fund factory.
All right, thank you. I think there is one last question, and then we're also almost, it's almost time to end this evening lecture. And I think Liuza, you wanted to pose another one? No? Okay, then there's in the Q&A a little clarification on what on the question on decentralization. It backfires. I meant to say that typically during performance management and accountability of subnational or local governments or corporate are constrained by a number of factors: limited resources, weak institutional capacity, inadequate mechanisms of accounting or accountability. Transparency becomes a challenge to implement, and limited availability of information due to decentralization. So maybe that clarifies the question a bit more, what is meant. Do you want to answer that?
I would still say it's it's very specific to certain areas. So far we have not faced such a question. I mean, I don't wonder if we can have this question tomorrow, but probably then we'll have to look at it in a very specific way. So in general, I would say yes, there is a possibility that it can, I won't say backfire, but it can pose another challenge. Let's say. I think fundamentally, living in a democracy, decentralization in principle, if implemented in a true spirit, will not or shall not backfire. Otherwise, somebody can also argue that the democracy is also decentralization of the power. Then it can also backfire, and people have this kind of argument. So I don't know, but so far we haven't faced this question, so I'm not able to answer the question because it's outside. Something we've not done, we don't talk about it because we don't know. It's not authentic for me to say something.
Yeah, I mean, that's also fair to say and fine. And yeah, maybe this is a question that will come up again in future discussions about this topic. Thank you so much for sharing your project with us, sharing your concept and ideas behind it with us, and also yeah, giving us these insights on a concrete project on how we could or one way to, yeah, like one participant said, change the lives of people to the better. Thank you to the participants for asking this many questions and being so engaged. We just want to give a little hint. Tomorrow we have a big panel discussion on climate policy and the question of carbon pricing. So if you haven't signed up for that evening lecture, I would really recommend that. And to the participants of the Summer Academy, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your workshops and have a great evening or morning or midday lunch wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.